What's up, Domino community? I'm making a Christmas domino video, and this time it's the Grinch who stole Christmas. I have a little domino plan of the Grinch's face, and this is like the main protocol for the plan. So it shows you like every row that needs to be built and which colors and how many of each color to place. I think it's gonna be a screen link. So we're gonna connect multiple clips together to make it seem like it's one long domino video, but really it's just like individual clips edited together. But this is going to allow me to do more risky tricks, and I feel like I'll be able to represent the movie better if I can get better camera angles and like really control how every shot looks. So that's the idea. I'm really excited because I actually haven't done a full like personal project in my house in so long. It's December 5th and the video will go up on December 21st, and I'm gonna show you how I created the setup. Hope you enjoy, and if you haven't turned on your notifications yet, turn them on. Okay, bye. All right, so I've measured out how large this field is going to be. There's, I believe, over 7,000 dominoes in this field, so it's about 6 feet wide or tall. It's pretty big. And now that I have this whole like grid line, I guess, I'm just gonna mark it, and then I can remove this. And now I can only build within this area, because otherwise when I put the camera over here, which we've actually marked out on the ground with these ink markers, that camera needs to fill this frame precisely. It's always a good idea to like place the camera first when you're doing screen links and then mark out where is your canvas to build. So that's what I've done here. This is the center, and because the dominoes are 109 wide, I'm going to build out 109 dominoes using this template and kind of just measure out where the middle might be. I don't know how many dominoes are in this template right now, but I'm gonna make it so that this is the 54th domino, if you know what I mean, because that's like kind of half of 109. It's like a lot of math. You know what, whatever, let's just start building. Let's set up the first domino. So before I take this template out, I'm just gonna count how many dominoes there are and get it to 54 or 55, and then match that with this end. So 2, 54. Here we go. This is the halfway point. That is gonna go right here, slightly to the right in the middle. And what's nice is I'm using the planks of the wood as kind of like a ruler. So I just match up this line, and that's how I know it's going to be a straight line. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. So now I just match this up, make sure the spacing is all even. Okay, so this is the first row. It has 109 dominoes, and now I repeat the plan 65 more times, and we'll get the Grinch. Alright, so I'm on the 6th row, and now, after I put this template in, I've set up 654 dominoes. In how many minutes? Like 10? But it's gonna go even faster when I use these stacks, because they're already like pre-arranged, and for those stacks, I use a different building technique where I'll like hold it with one hand and put it through the top. That was really bad, hold on. But I'll go like this. Okay, sorry, that was also really bad. I go like this. Hold on. But I'll go like this. I go like this. I'll go like this. I'll go like this. Looks like that. But now, just because they're like on the ground, I don't know why, but I find it faster when I put 2 hands at the same time. There are a lot of ways to set up dominoes in a template. You just kind of have to figure out the way that works best for you and practice all of the different techniques. Yeah, this is probably like my 5th largest field, I want to say, so it's pretty big, and it's gonna go towards the end of the Christmas video, so it'll be like a big finale. The Santa hat is partially done. I've set up 1,853 dominoes, and now that I've finished that, I'm gonna go to these stacks and bring them over here. This is a great way to move stacks of dominoes. Just get a meter stick or a yardstick, and you just move it over like that. Or you can do the domino lift challenge and try to stand them all up. Oh, no. And now that they're all pre-stacked, it's gonna be really fast for me to just set them up. And if you do stack dominoes when you're building fields, I recommend timing yourself and just seeing how fast it takes you to set up like 50 dominoes when they're stacked. And then that way, as you keep doing rows, you can see like which technique works best for you. If you like do 5 rows of like putting them through the top and then do 5 rows of putting them through the side, and just kind of average the times, and then you can maximize how fast that you build using whatever technique works best for you. I'm gonna keep going with this field. It's gonna be a lot faster now. Hopefully we can knock down either today or tomorrow. So I've just discovered that we actually ran out of yellow dominoes. I don't have enough to build the entire field. So what we're gonna do is we're going to remove this bottom layer because it's just a solid row of yellow, as well as the top layer, and then 1 row on each side. So we're basically like cutting in by 1 domino on every side of it. It's about 6,800 dominoes total once we do that. I do have some other yellow dominoes, but they're not the same shade, so it might look kind of weird. So I think it's better to just like shave off the corners of it. All right, so gotta knock down this one. Because there's a gap in between every row, when we knock down one, it won't knock down the entire thing. So that's kind of like an extra safety precaution. Test. Okay, and now I need to like carefully remove this layer. Here we go. Be real careful. Super good progress. It's been about 3.5 hours and I've set up about 5,671 dominoes and it's looking real good. I'm seeing the Grinch face now. The Santa hat is done. A few more rows over here left, but it's looking really good. A lot of this is like very repetitive, just like placing the dominoes and putting them in. So like fields personally for me aren't my favorite thing to build, but it does make it better when they're already preset. So that has been very helpful. I'm probably gonna finish it either today or tomorrow. Then we'll knock it down. All right, this is the final row, and then the whole field will be complete. All right, so I actually kind of messed up. When I took the template out, it wasn't straight and some of the dominoes are like now like leaning this way. So one thing that I see some builders do is they'll take out the template and then they notice it's not straight, so they just knock it down and rebuild it. But you don't have to knock it down. What you can do is just put the template back in, and you have to be like a little precise with this, but you can usually get it so that all the dominoes are back in without moving them forward. Once you have the template in all the way, if you drag the template on like a 15-degree angle backwards to the side and then move it in just a little bit more and then another 15 degrees in the other direction, you can kind of move it back enough to replace that line without having to knock it down and then rebuild it. And whenever I take out the template, I always look in the middle of it. I don't look at an individual domino. I just kind of use my peripheral vision to move it back. Because if I find that if I'm looking at one side and then I go look at this side and then I take out the template at the same time, one side is always uneven or they'll all be diagonal instead of straight. I just find that looking in the middle, not really looking at anything, but just pulling it back, tends to make it a nice line. Done. It's the Grinch. So I've laid out the field starters and it's pretty much the perfect length for the amount of rows in this field. And now that I've laid this out, it'll be really easy to just stand them up in the exact place that I need it to be. So I've left about 1 inch between the first domino and the field starter, so that just allows the field starter to tip a pretty good amount before it falls all the way. I don't know, sometimes if you use like really heavy dominoes and it's only like a domino thickness away from the first domino, it could just lean up against that first domino and not actually topple because there wasn't enough room for that field starter to go all the way down. I just kind of do a little bit bigger of a gap in between there and then we keep on going. All right, so the field starters, I've placed them all. There's actually one more domino that I need to trigger, and this field starter isn't long enough. I could potentially put it halfway in between, and I think that would work, but just to be safe, I don't want dominoes to like not fall in this field. So I'm going to tape a domino to the field starter. And now I have magically a longer field starter, and this is going to fall this way. And just for safety, sometimes I like to do a double line leading up to the field starter, and then another row of double lines, and then a single line. And this is just to make sure that there is indeed enough force to knock down the long field starter and these field starters as well. The field starter is the most important part. If you don't build the field starter right, then the field just won't fall. So it's always good to be extra safe with it. All right, so I think I'm gonna topple this field in a more interesting way than I normally do. Instead of having it like start from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom, I'm gonna topple it from the middle and then go out. It's gonna have a cool effect that almost looks like a pyramid or a triangle that's sweeping across the field left to right, where this is the fastest, this is the second fastest, and that's like the slowest line. So the way that I'm building this is first, I'm gonna build a straight line that is perpendicular to the field, and I'm going to position this line so it's about maybe like 3 to 4 inches from this perpendicular line, and that'll have enough room for me to turn a domino line safely into this field. I'm gonna look at this line from this angle as well to make sure that it is indeed a straight line and is parallel with all of these field starters. And I can see that this is actually not that straight. I'm gonna move it in towards the bottom a little bit. Do you see that? I took it out and then this domino almost fell. All right, so here's how I'm gonna build this field starter that starts in the middle and then works its way out. Since it's starting in the middle, I'm gonna take out a few dominoes here so that I have room to turn dominoes and then make it go back into one domino line. So I actually need to do a 3-way split and have this centered with that line. You wanna make sure that this curve isn't too sharp so that it actually does fall and it won't just like trigger the first line and not the left and right one. And then for this curve, I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dominoes in the curve. There's actually enough room for 5, so that'll be really safe. And then this will be a straight line. Again, you gotta be really careful because this field starter, once you fill that in, like everything is locked and loaded. And if you knock it down, that could potentially knock down the entire field, which would be very sad. Be very cautious. The same curve I'm gonna build over here, and then that's easy to go back into a single domino line by just putting 2 halfway in between the other ones and then back to 1. So we have the first one now connected. Now I need to connect all of these field starters, and I'm starting with this one because if, for example, I started down there and this was all connected and then I did this one and then I accidentally knocked it down here, then all of this would fall. But if I start closer to the beginning of the line and I knock it down, these haven't been connected yet, so you kind of save a little bit of your field. But also then again, like if I did knock down the middle, I may have to knock down the bottom 2 to reach the middle. It depends what you're building, but just for like extra safety and for my own like knowing that only this one would fall and not those 2, I'm gonna do the one that's closest to the beginning of the line first. So to do this, I'm placing a domino that's about the same distance from this perpendicular line in between one of these dominoes. So I'm putting a domino halfway in between and then adding another one domino thickness away. And now it's just a matter of turning the dominoes very slightly. And I'm starting to fill in this side of the dominoes rather than this side because there's less of a chance that this will fall over and knock down the entire domino field. Like for example, right here, there's still a gap of dominoes. So if this falls, like my finger can catch it. But if I'm filling in over here, every domino I place, there's a risk of it falling and hitting this field. So that's why I always go like in the order of the topple from the beginning to the end. And then be extra careful on this one. Perfect. All right, so now I need to do the connecting lines. And because this is a screen link, the line coming in and out needs to go off screen. So I'm gonna build it all the way to the edge of the whole floor. That's probably longer than I actually need it, but just for the GOPRO, which I can't say, otherwise it's gonna turn off, that'll fill the whole frame. I have this like little bit of clear line that loops around in the beginning and the end, and that's just so as a viewer, you have time to admire the field a little bit before it topples and a little bit after it topples, instead of just like, you see the clip, it falls, and then it's like done. Like I feel like it needs a little bit of anticipation, and I decided to use down here pattern lines of 4 green and then 2 red, just as like a nice Christmas touch. So this will be the final domino line and then we can knock it down. Alright, so I just realized that these in and out lines actually aren't in the shot for that camera because it's like too low. So I actually need to move the lines to the middle and get rid of this clear line. Now I have to move this whole line over there. for even more behind the scenes on this channel. There's going to be a marathon on H5 Domino community, so turn on your notifications. And my next H5 video is probably the most important video I've ever posted, so stay tuned as well for that. And a reminder, the contest ends on December 26th, so if you haven't submitted your video on the most creative way to knock down a domino, please do so. You can click on this card in the top right corner and find more information on how you can be featured in our collaborative community compilation. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. As always, I'm Lily /Hevish5. Keep on building.